He's the man, he's the myth, he's the legend, he's the scientist with all the answers to all the questions. It's time for another episode of Alex's Science Corner.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What is going on in the wide world of science, my friend?
All right. Story number one. This has been a big week for SpaceX because they had their Crew Dragon space capsule launched, flew to the International Space Station, delivered some supplies and a test dummy to the International Space Station.
Now, this thing was all automated. I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, because there was nobody inside of it. So.
Right. But so they were controlling it from the ground.
Yes, although it's also automated in that parts of it's going to be autonomous.
Okay.
But it is ground controlled. The actual maneuvering towards the last steps, what they've been doing is the capsule will fly very close to the International Space Station, and a grabber arm on the space station would pull it in and dock it. But this one had an autonomous docking control system, and they had it dock directly from that.
One more question.
Okay.
Could the space station override the controls and maneuver it? No, they can't.
No, they don't have that command capability.
Do you think that's something that'll eventually happen, where they'll be able to take these over?
No.
Take
what they
the
would
controls
do,
over, kind of like
what
the
they would
sci-fi
do
stuff.
is they would fly these spacecraft like they've done with other supply modules. They'd fly very, very close, and then an arm would reach out and grab the capsule and bring it into the docking port.
Okay.
Because for that, they just want to have the arm maneuver. But they had a test dummy in there called Ripley, after the Aliens character. And
I like it.
Yeah. And they had a zero-G gravity indicator, which is a small little inflatable globe, so that when it was in zero-G, you'd see this thing float about. And it delivered about 450 pounds of supplies to the space station. It was docked for a few days, and it landed. And this was called Demo 1. They are going to do, the next thing that they're going to do with it is they're going to test the emergency escape system on it. And what that is the capsule has these massive rockets on the side of it. So if there's a problem with the rocket, either on the launch pad or while it's taking off, these rockets are supposed to blast the crew capsule away from an exploding rocket so that the crew can
survive.
Right.
Yeah. And still have
the Russians had
maneuverability.
it, and they've had it work.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, there was last year they had an incident where there's a problem with one of the boosters, instead of coming off, tipped into the rocket. And then the emergency escape system went off and got the crew off of the exploding rocket. So this is real important. That is the next test that they're going to do. They're going to have the rocket take off, and as the rocket's going, they're going to have the emergency escape system light up to make sure that the capsule will be able to escape from the rocket while it's flying.
Can we get back to the zero gravity thing a minute?
Okay.
I take it they've got cameras then that they've got inside, so they're recording all of this at the same time. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And when is the time frame for the next test?
The next test is going to happen within the next 2 months or so. SpaceX is hoping to have, if all of that goes well, they're hoping in July or August, I believe, to have a manned mission or a crewed mission with 2 SpaceX employees flying the capsule to the space station. A lot of other sources I have are saying that is overly optimistic because NASA's going to want some other qualifications and other tests to go on. But SpaceX thinks that they're going to get it done in July to August time frame. So that's what they're hoping for. After
Are
that,
they
once
working with NASA on this?
Of course they are.
Okay.
They have to because it's going on to the International Space Station. But they're also getting contract.
Is it coming off Kennedy?
I can't
Canaveral
say
or
for
where
sure. They've got like 2 launch facilities that they use.
Okay.
One in Florida, one on the West Coast.
Okay.
And so each of those launch facilities, I'm sure if they are flying to the space station, they're using the Florida because that's where the capsule landed. That's where the other facilities are for going into the orbit they need to go into to catch up to the space station. They kind of have to fly from Florida.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Second story is geologists and astronomers got together to figure out why the dinosaurs died 65 million years ago. About 30 years ago, there's still a big question of what happened. During that time, the geologists were starting to see something that at the time they called the KT boundary layer. Later on, or its current name is called the KPG boundary layer, because it used to be called the Cretaceous tertiary layer, and now it's called the Cretaceous Paleogene layer. What that layer is, it's a very thin layer. Below that layer, dinosaurs. Above that layer, no dinosaurs. When they were going through examining this layer, trying to figure out what was going on, they were finding cases of iridium, which is not as common on Earth as it is on asteroids. So they're seeing this layer that has a lot more iridium in it. It's also got a lot of ash and other debris material in that layer. Finally, they figured out in the 1980s that this is a layer marking that a massive asteroid hit. And they found a crater in Chicxulub, Mexico. So it hit on the Yucatan Peninsula.
Okay.
They expect that is what caused the dinosaurs to die, because it threw up so much water and debris that it kind of blocked out the sun for a good long while and caused a lot of extinction events.
Is that also when they think the Ice Age began?
No.
Okay.
No, that's separate. This is completely different topic, right?
Unrelated.
Now, one of the things that was going on, though, is they were seeing other things in there that are not asteroid related. And so they're trying to figure out, was it only an asteroid or is there something else going on? Because some of the other indications for the massive extinction involved a lot of gases from volcanoes. What is now India, there was an area of India called the Deccan Traps. And it had a lot of volcanic activity, and that was going on at the time. The amount that they're seeing is a heck of a lot more than what they were expecting. And so these two events kind of coincided. So it's like, was it the asteroid that killed it, or was it the volcanoes that killed the dinosaurs?
Or was it coincidence, the two?
Well, that's what they figured out. It looks like when the asteroid hit, the weak spot in India that was the Deccan Traps got much worse afterwards. And so having some volcanic activity to having a massive amount of volcanic activity. So it was a 1-2 punch of these two events. The asteroid hit, caused a massive amount of damage, and the shock waves went through the Earth and kind of opened up these Deccan Traps so that the volcanic activity there lasted for almost 1 million years.
And they're not seeing volcanic activity of this nature, this magnitude, anywhere else in the world. Okay.
Correct.
At that time.
This was, and then if you see in my YouTube video, I'll have a picture where you would normally see sedimentary layers. The pictures from this area where you see sediment that makes mountains, this is all volcanic layers. So you've got mountains of volcanoes that cover like about 1 million square miles of area.
Now, how big do you think this asteroid was that hit?
About 5 or 6 miles wide.
Wow, that's not big. You think about it.
No, it's
Okay.
not. It's like a little bit of Danbury is the size.
Considering the size of the Earth, 5-6 miles. That's
right.
That's not big.
And yet it was big enough to shake the
Well,
Earth.
don't forget, if a few years ago when they had the asteroid that came over Chelyabinsk, Russia, and that was only about the size of a truck.
That was falling apart that all those people captured on their dash cams.
Right. And it created a blast wave like a nuclear bomb.
So it doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't. And that's why a lot of people got hurt, because they saw this bright flash and everybody went to their windows to look, and the shock wave from that blew out all the windows and hurt thousands of people.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like a nuclear bomb going off. And that's a rock the size of a pickup truck, or just a little bit larger like a van. And when you've got a 5-6 mile rock, you're going to make massive amount of damage to the Earth.
Oh, well, now we know why we've got climate change issues. We've got this rock that hit and tilted the Earth. Just
All right, let's
Okay.
move
Okay,
this.
I'm sorry.
Let's move this one
I'm
along.
sorry, I couldn't help
Let's
it.
move this one along.
I
Okay.
think I'm going to have to go back to square one.
Okay. All right.
No, but that's really interesting.
Let's wrap this one up.
Yeah, so it's a 1-2 punch. The rock made the volcanoes much, much worse.
But only in this specific area.
Well, no, it covered it. It was enough to cause damage across the whole Earth.
Yep. Okay.
Because on one side of the Earth, you had the damage
No, I
from
mean the
asteroid,
volcanoes.
and the other side of the world had volcanoes. So you had this 1-2 punch that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Okay.
All right.
All right. If you have any questions for Alex about these two stories or anything else science related, we'll take your phone calls right now at 203
837
99.
24.